Hello, friend. Have you ever wondered why we become so attached to our identity? Our personality, our beliefs, our religion, our intelligence, our appearance, our career, our opinions, or even the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. And whenever someone challenges those things, it almost feels like they're challenging us. It feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it even feels painful. So why does this happen? Let's talk about it. 1. Identity gives us certainty. Humans naturally like certainty. We want to know who we are. We want to understand ourselves. Identity gives us an answer to that question. We create labels like, I'm an introvert, I'm confident, I'm shy, I'm smart, or I'm this kind of person. These labels make us feel certain. They help us make sense of ourselves and the world around us. In many ways, identity helps reduce uncertainty because it gives us a stable story about who we think we are. 2. We confuse what happens to us with who we are. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Someone fails at something and says, I failed. But slowly it becomes, I am a failure. Someone gets good grades and starts thinking, I am smart. Then if the grades disappear, their entire identity starts shaking. The problem is that we often confuse events with identity. Experiences happen to us, but they are not necessarily who we are. Life is constantly changing. Success comes and goes. Failure comes and goes. If our identity depends entirely on what happens around us, then our sense of self becomes very fragile. 3. Identity gives us safety. Identity protects us from uncertainty. It gives us something familiar to hold on to. Even when a label is limiting, it can still feel comfortable because it's familiar. For example, someone might say, I'm not a morning person. After saying it enough times, it becomes part of their identity. But is it actually true? Or is it just a label they repeated for years? If that same person starts waking up early every day, eventually the label changes. The point is that many things we call identity are often habits, behaviors, or patterns that can change over time. 4. The danger of over-attachment. When we become too attached to our identity, we stop growing, we stop learning, we stop changing, because change threatens the image we have built. Imagine someone who has always called themselves a night owl. Then they start sleeping early and waking up early. Suddenly, their old identity is challenged. Growth often requires letting go of old labels, but many people resist that because they are more attached to the label than they are committed to growth. 5. Identity is useful, but attachment is the problem. Identity itself is not bad. In fact, it can be helpful. It helps us understand ourselves and navigate life. The real problem is becoming so attached to an identity that we refuse to update it when reality changes. If new experiences show you something different about yourself, it's okay to change. It's okay to grow. It's okay to become a different version of yourself. Growth often requires updating the story you tell yourself. 6. You are more than a label. You are not your grades. You are not your mistakes. You are not your job. You are not your success. You are not your failures. Those things are parts of your experience, but they are not your entire identity. Your identity should be more like water than stone. Flexible enough to adapt when life teaches you something new. Strong enough to have values and beliefs, but flexible enough to grow beyond old labels when necessary. At the end of the day, some of the biggest transformations in life happen when we stop asking, who am I? And start asking, who am I becoming? Because identity should not be a prison. It should be a tool that helps you grow. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.